Well, with the closing of the Xbox 360 store, the PS3 is officially the last console standing from the 7th gen that still has an official online store up. Today we're going to be checking out, kind of what's left of the PS3 store. It's definitely not what it used to be. It's kind of hard to navigate, super slow, super laggy. You can still find some gems on there, so I'll show you guys some games to check out to get while it's still up. We'll go over populated PS3 games that you can still play. There's actually a decent amount of PS3 games you can still play online that have an okay player base, so it doesn't take you too long to find a game. And then we'll go over some of my memories with the PS3 and my predictions for how much longer I think the store will be up, and some great games that you can play online. So stay tuned, this is going to be a fun one. The PS3 is a super special console, my favorite console of all time, and the longevity of this system is pretty unmatched. So the PS3 came out all the way back in 2006, so we're getting close to that 20-year mark for the PS3, and it's actually really surprising that the online store for it is still up, and the fact you can still play some games online. And what was really cool about playing PS3 online is you did not need PlayStation Plus. So I really think that's something that they should bring back along with Xbox and Nintendo. I understand a lot of these services nowadays provide you with more value, but at the end of the day, it's like, hey, if I just want to play online, that should not cost anything additional, but that's another rant for another video. So as for the PlayStation Store, it's definitely not what it used to be. The PS3 store is definitely a shell of its former self and is pretty slow, pretty laggy, not very easy to navigate, but I will say it's definitely worth checking out still. The PS3 store is loaded with tons of games still. Mind you, a decent amount of games have been delisted, but there's some really good titles that you should check out on the PS3 store to buy digitally. Normally, I'm not a person who's big on buying digital games, but if you want to have something and play it on actual PlayStation hardware instead of emulating, then the PlayStation Store is going to be your best bet. So off the bat, some things that I would definitely recommend getting off the PlayStation Store would be PS1 classics. So excuse the ghetto footage of me literally recording this off the TV. No, it looks awful, but the PS3 store in a pretty rough state. As you can see here, it still has a deals category that is grayed out, and then when you hover over it, there's no deals. So it's odd that they haven't removed certain things like this, and it's just kind of sat here to decay over time. When you go onto the storefront, you can navigate towards PS1 classics, and it actually won't show really much at all. I think it'll show like maybe 20 games, 30 games, something like that. And that's kind of what I was referencing earlier when I said the store doesn't really function too well. So to find more of these PS1 classics, what you'll have to do is you'll actually have to go to the search icon and physically type in PS1, and then it will actually show a list of way more PS1 titles. So there's a decent amount that are still on here and available. Most of them are like $5.99. I think there's a couple that are a little more expensive than that, but I would say like 80 to 90% of these games are $5.99, and that is substantially cheaper than a lot of these games are physically. Some of the titles on here actually hold a decent amount of value, but some ones that you might want to check out on the PS1 side of things would be, Tomba, Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, the Parasite Eve games, Dino Crisis. There's a ton of good PS1 titles that you can get on here, and I know I'll probably have some people that are like, why don't you just emulate it? Well, yeah, you can emulate it. Emulating PS1 is really easy. You can emulate PS1 games on a PSP, your phone, pretty much anywhere. But if you want to play those PS1 classics on physical PlayStation hardware, then this is going to be the easiest and cheapest way to do it without physically buying a disc. So PS1 classics back in the day were amazing. I remember back in, God, it must have been probably like 2010, maybe 09, 2010, something like that. I remember buying the Crash Bandicoot PS1 classic, the first Crash Bandicoot, and loving it. And another one I bought was Harvest Moon. So I was a big Harvest Moon fan when I was a kid, loved Friends of Mineral Town on GBA, and it was really fun to have it on a PS1 classic. I remember I had actually transferred it from my PS3 to my PSP back in the day and played it on that. So PS1 classics are awesome. If you don't have a modded PSP, hey, you can put those PS1 classics on your PSP and they work and run just fine. So not only are you getting these PS1 classics for the PS3, you're getting them for your PSP as well. So ton of value there, $5.99. You can play it on both systems. I think that's a steal. You can also get PS2 classics. So In my opinion, I think the PS1 classics are better value and just a little more fun and nostalgic. But there's a ton of PS2 games that you can download on here too. I remember back in the day, I had got the original San Andreas as a PS2 classic, the one that didn't have trophies, which I think people say is the better version. So it was really cool to, once again, if you didn't have a backwards compatible PS3, to pick up some PS2 classics, play them on your HD TV, and not have to worry about bringing the PS2 and hooking that up to the TV. Because the backwards compatible PS3s were harder to find, more expensive, a little more on the rare side, and typically had a higher failure rate than a slim model. Back in the PS3 store's prime, it was a really cool thing to jump onto, and I'm talking pre-update, right? So the way the PS3 store looks right now, they had tried to make it look similar to what the PS4 store had looked like, and it just didn't run very well on the PS3. But back in the day, the PS3 store actually looked great. It was super smooth. It was super buttery. You could pop in and out of categories, look at different games, look at demos, map packs, DLC, things like that, and it ran and worked really well. And when they updated it, it definitely was chugging along, and that's unfortunately how it looks now. But one thing I would definitely recommend if you're wanting to go on the PS3 store in 2024 while it's still up is going on, and if there's any DLC, any downloadable content that you want for games, whether it's map packs for the old Call of Duties, for example, the zombie maps, if you're wanting to get those and have it on your console without having to mod it, that is definitely something to look out for. Maybe there's some skins or other add-ons you want for games, definitely jump on there and get it while you still can. In regards to the store, hey, it doesn't work great, but it does still work. So jump on there, get the PS1 classics you're looking for, get the PS2 classics, any digital only games you're looking for. A good digital only game that I would highly recommend looking out for would be Tokyo Jungle. Tokyo Jungle is a really cool game on PS3, and you can only get it physically on basically it's like a PSN Volume 1 collection. And I want to say that game's like a $60 or $70 game, and it's the only way you can get it physically, and it comes with I think Fat Princess and a couple other games. But if you're wanting to get it for the cheap, buy it on PS3 on the store. I think it's like $14.99. But definitely a really unique game that, once the store closes, it'll be gone unless you have a modded system. So now let's talk about some games that you can still play online on the PS3. So there has been a decent amount of games that have been taken offline. The servers are down for whatever reason, but there's a decent amount of games that you can still play online on the PS3. You can play, pretty much all the old classic Call of Duties like, Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2, MW2, MW3, World at War. You can play Red Dead Redemption online still, the original one, which is really cool. GTA 4 you can play online, which is awesome as well. That was a really simple multiplayer before GTA Online was like really a thing, before GTA 5. So if you're wanting to jump in, play some older Rockstar games, some older Call of Duties, you definitely can. And if you're looking to jump on PS3 online and play with some friends, maybe meet some new people and just jump on a game with some good people, I highly recommend checking out my buddy's channel. I'll have a link to it in the description. His channel is MAWK3. Really cool dude, great guy in the community, and he is a huge advocate of PS3 online. He's always showcasing PS3 games that you can still play online. There's even been some games that were originally shut down, but you can actually jump back on now and play online. Some of the games I think require a modded system, but his channel is amazing. Highly recommend him, and big shout out to him too, man. He's helping keep the PS3 community alive, and it's such a special era of games. So it's really cool that there's other people out there showing love to the PS3 and keeping the community alive. Now let's talk about how much longer does the PS3 store and certain PS3 online games have left. I would say as for the store, I'm really hoping there's like another 2 years or so left for the PS3. We'll see. I know there were some numbers not too long ago that had showcased that there was, 1 million and some odd players still online on PS3, which was awesome. The fact that there was still, over 1 million players on PS3 just goes to show that this system is still being used. It's still really fun to play. And, once again, the online was free. You could pop in a game and play it, and you didn't have to worry about 1,000 updates or installing the game. What was cool about a majority of PS3 games is you could pop them in, play them, off the bat, right? On newer gen systems, hey, whether you download the game or have it physically, you're having to basically chill out and wait for it to install, which, really sucks. If you're on a time crunch, if you're really wanting just a simpler era of gaming, I think the PS3 still holds up really well because, once again, HDMI console, right? So it works on modern displays. Controls are wireless, right? The controls don't really feel too dated. The graphics still look good, and you don't have to worry about 1,000 updates or DLC being shoved down your face as soon as you install the game. Yeah, I would say probably another 2 years, maybe max, for the PlayStation Store. I would be really curious to see what kind of numbers Sony's actually pulling from that store from purchases, whether that's, games, PS1 and PS2 classics, DLC, add-ons, things like that. It must be still profitable enough for them to keep up, and hopefully it stays on for a couple more years. That's my guess, though, is that it's probably 2 years max. That would put us in 2026 when it shuts down. So that'd be 20 years after the PS3 released, and which is a hell of a run. The PS3's longevity, once again, is really something remarkable, right? Like the 360 had a great run too, but the Wii was killed off, pretty fast from Nintendo. Nintendo is pretty quick to, shut down most of their consoles once a new one comes out. The main reason I wanted to make this video was, when I saw that the 360 store had officially shut down, it made me think, it's like, hey, really jump on to the PS3 while you still can and just kind of appreciate a simpler time, a simpler era. Maybe make some purchases on there that you've been kind of thinking about, because who knows, next time Sony announces it, it probably will actually be the official shutdown, because back in 2021, I think Sony had said that they were going to shut down the PS3 store, and basically the community revolted and they're like, hey, you know what, nah, we'll keep it up, don't worry. So I wouldn't be surprised if they announce something like that again soon, and it won't be a pump fake. I think this time they'll definitely shut it down. So let me know some PS3 games that you might be buying on the PlayStation Store, some PS1 classics. Let me know some memories you have on the PlayStation Store, just playing PS3 online. I have a ton of great memories with, getting map packs back in the day, DLC, getting those PS1 classics like Harvest Moon and the original Crash, and playing them on PSP and the PS3. It was just such a cool era. You could rent movies on there too, download movies. That was a really cool feature as well. And yeah, it's gonna be a sad day when the PS3 store officially shuts down. Make the most of it while it's still up. Take advantage of the store being there if there's anything that you wanna jump on. And yeah, long live the PS3. Like I said earlier, check out my buddy's channel. I'll have a link in the description for his channel. I know he does live streams and showcases active games that are still on PS3. So highly recommend checking him out if you wanna jump on and play some PS3 and make sure you're playing a game that's actually, still active. But yeah, that'll do it for today's video. Appreciate you guys watching, and we'll catch you soon with another video.